As you know, over years of coming to Mass and hearing these readings, that we're on a 3-year cycle. And once every 3 years, a particular gospel and first and second reading are read. And we're familiar with those. But for some reason, I guess because of the number of days in February, I'm not quite sure, but we haven't heard this gospel and these readings since 2010. Not 3 years ago, but 8 or 9 years ago. We hear and are familiar with the gospel of Matthew, of the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. It's a very poetic gospel. And it's a gospel that we follow. But in today's reading, Luke really pinpoints what you and I are called to do. As a matter of fact, in Matthew, blessed are the poor in spirit. In Luke's gospel, blessed are you who are poor. Blessed are you who are hungry. You will be filled. And there are 4 of those Beatitudes. But there are 4 really curses. Woe to you who are rich. Woe to you who are filled with food. And so on. Jesus pinpoints what we are called to do, how we are called to live. This gospel, even though we haven't heard it for a number of years, gives us an opportunity to start looking toward Lent. And not necessarily what we're going to give up, but what Lent is all about. So let's talk about Lent for a second. Lent, what is Lent? We're called to give alms. We are called to be charitable. We are called to fast and to pray more. Lent isn't the only season that we do that. It's not like during Lent we give to the poor and all the rest of the seasons we don't. It enables us to look at what we give. It enables us to look at how we live. What is Lent? It's not just fasting, praying, and almsgiving. Lent is an opportunity, and we're 2 or 3 weeks away from Lent, so it's good to start thinking of this. Lent gives us an opportunity to be transformed so that during the Easter season, when every Sunday we renew our baptismal promises and are sprinkled with holy water. And if you're at a Mass with Father Dave, you know that each and every one of you are going to be sopping wet. We are given the opportunity now to prepare ourselves for the renewal of our baptismal promises at Easter and during the Easter season, so that by fasting and praying and almsgiving, we will be truly able to, with confidence and with full faith and with commitment, answer those baptismal promises. Do you believe in God the Father Almighty? I do. Whereas if we don't prepare to make those promises, Do you believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth? Yeah. Okay. But if we prepare and be transformed and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, that's what we're called to do. Now, in just a couple of minutes, Jody Martin, who is a Knight of Columbus from St. Martin's Parish. Jody thinks that St. Martin's Parish was named after Jody Martin. Jody's going to talk about some of the things that the Knights of Columbus do for those who have special needs, those who are physically and intellectually challenged. And I don't want to steal what he's going to say, but you remember the diocese offices used to be at a place called Marywood up in Villa Park on a hill. It was a beautiful campus. And every year, Camp Recreation would take place over a 7-day period. Camp Recreation is sponsored by the Knights of Columbus and by Catholic Charities. And we would have around 100 campers. And these were folks who were young and old, who are physically and mentally challenged. And each camper had a specific person who stayed with them the entire time. And watching that year after year, it was so incredible, because these kids and adults who had special needs could have fun. They'd go swimming. They'd do all kinds of stuff. And there'd be a person with them all the time, not just to watch them, but to show them that they're loved by God. They're loved by God as they are. And as Jody's going to say, they're a gift. People with special needs are a gift. So, I'm going to stop talking about what the Knights of Columbus do and ask Jody to come forward. And as he does, today, who do we stand up for? Who do we support? And not ridicule, but love. Today we talk about folks with special needs. Jody?
Thank you, Deacon Mike. Thank you, Father. As Deacon Mike said, my name is Jody Martin. I'm from St. Martin's. No, they didn't name it after us. I'm here today to talk to you about the ID, Knights of Columbus ID, Tootsie Roll Drive. For those that aren't aware of it, ID, as Deacon Mike said, represents the intellectually disabled. People covered under this umbrella are normally considered mentally challenged, having special needs, mentally disabled, severely autistic, Downs. So you see the spectrum I'm talking about. And if any one of you, as Deacon Mike said, have had a chance to know one of these folks, to care for, to love, or just to hug one of them, you know exactly what I mean. I mean, you go away from that experience feeling very special. I firmly believe that God put these people in our lives for us. They're there. They're for our development, and they're to help us to get to heaven. And I personally have a very sensitive sensitivity, if you will. Because when I got married, my brother-in-law has special needs, and Dell was challenged his entire life. He managed to work, but more importantly, he affected all of us, and he affected me personally. When things were going bad, he would hold everybody's hands and say, let's just pray about it. And lo and behold, one of his prayers would come true, and it didn't take long before I converted to the faith and started believing a lot more fervently. Dell had a special connection in heaven, and it touched me deeply. Later on in life, I have a grandson, Luke, who's severely autistic. So not only are they in our midst, they're in our families. Sometimes they're our brothers, our sisters. And like I said, God put them there on purpose. Just to share a brief little story with you, and this is an actual true thing that happened to me last summer. I'm walking my dog, which I do every day. He's a little white Bichon, and he reminds me at 4:30 that it's time to go. And so I'm out walking, and I see in the distance a couple of women and a little youngster coming. And when they get closer, I could see that the young lad has got Downs, severe Downs. And so I'm just bent on, I'm just going to say something, and rather than just pass. So I got closer, and when I got real close, the mother, as I found out, said, his name is Sean. I guess she didn't want me to say hello and have him say nothing. So I said, well, hello, Sean. This is my dog, Benny. And it was a little awkward because he didn't say anything like his mother said. So I said a couple of pleasantries and started to leave, but my dog was having nothing to do with that. Benny goes over to him, sits down on his fanny, and just looks at him. So Sean bends down, starts petting him. So I took the opportunity. I said, well, Sean, do you like dogs? Say hi, Benny. And there was a palpable pause. And I waited. And he looked down and he said, Benny, tell the man I like dogs. So I said, okay. I figured out pretty quickly he's not talking to me, he's talking to Benny. So I said, Benny, ask Sean who these two women are with him today. Another big pause. And he said, Benny, tell the man that this is my mother and this is my grandmother. So I look up, and Mom and Grandma are just in complete tears. So I joined them for a couple of minutes. And the mother says, this is a minor miracle. She said, Sean doesn't talk. We hear him at home, but he never talks in public. This is a first. And I think what hit me and hits all of us is that his ability to talk was there. His comfort, maybe in all circumstances, wasn't there, but he had an affinity with my dog, and that's all it took. I'm just going to say it again. Deacon Mike said it far better than I could. I truly believe that God put these special people in our lives. They're there for us. They're blessings from God. They've been touched in a special way, and their purpose, besides just being here for us to love, is for us to change within, to reach out, to be there for them. And not only are we helping ourselves and our family and our loved ones to God to get to heaven, it's our responsibility to help them, because they certainly help us. So I'll end with that. So the money we're collecting today outside, and you'll notice the collectors, because they're your own parishioners, Knights of Columbus, and they're wearing a spiffy little yellow vest, you can't miss them, holding out a can, shaking some coins. The money's going to be used to support, as Deacon Mike said, camp recreation. He said more than I was planning on saying about the camp, but one of the things I will tell you is when these kids are in the camp for the 7 days, the parents the real caregivers, the 24/7 folks, have a breather. They get to go out for dinner. They get to go to a movie. Some of them take a 2 or 3 day vacation because they know the clock is ticking. When the 7 days is over, they're back in the saddle for 24/7. We also use some of the money to support Special Olympics. And this year, we're supporting an organization in Newport Bay called the the Back Bay Therapeutic Riding Club. And what's unique about this organization is it allows kids to be on horses, some of them for the first time. And the feedback I'm getting from a couple of people I know that work down there is that more often than not, the kids communicate with the horses. They'll be walking them around and the kids are talking to the horses. So there's some connection between these special people and our four-legged creatures. So in closing, I want you to know that Bishop Van is very supportive of this program. And he's challenged all the Knights of Columbus throughout all of Orange County to collect as much money as we can. It's important that we do it. It's important for the kids. I don't have to say again what a good cause it is. So hopefully, last night I think they ran out of Tootsie Rolls, but hopefully they have a bunch of Tootsie Rolls. So be generous when you leave. Deposit your little money in the canister, and hopefully they'll have some Tootsie Rolls to give you in exchange. So thank you very much, and I know I spoke too long, but thank you very much.